class. If you can hear me, please send an emoji using the chat box. If you can hear me, please send an emoji using the chat box. Thank you. Thank you, Onome. If you can hear me, please send an emoji using the chat box. Okay, so today we are going to look into the topic called living organisms. Living organisms. What comes to your mind when you hear living organisms? From the word living, life, right? Okay, so the layman language, the normal definition that we do listen to, we do hear is, oh, living organisms are things, living things are things that have life in them, right? From the word living, they have life. Okay, so have you experienced a situation whereby you see a stick-like structure, probably on the floor, and touching it, you see it moving, and you're like, oh, this thing is an insect. At that moment, what gave you the assurance that the stick-like structure is an insect? What gave you the assurance is the characteristics it possessed at that moment, because it moved, right? So this is to tell you that there are some characteristics of living, there are some things possessed by living organisms that give us the assurance that, oh, this thing has life in it. Okay, so living organisms are entities that have life. They possess life. They possess the characteristics of living things. Okay, so when we talk of things that are living things, living organisms, we say, oh, this thing can move, this thing responds, this thing do this and that. So living things are not things that cannot move. They are things that respond to stimuli. They are things that respond to whatever goes around in their environment. So this is what we call living organisms. And we have the study of living organisms. We study different organisms. There are many living organisms out there. So the study of a particular living organism, please take note of this. The study of a particular living organism, of an individual organism, or a single species of an organism is called horticulture. Is called horticology. So horticology is the study of an individual organism. Please take note of whatever you are being taught here on A1 Tutor Hub. Horticology, the study of an individual organism or a single species. Okay, so if you can hear me, please send an emoji. Okay, thank you very much. So this is horticology. Then we move to the characteristics of living organisms. We have looked into what gives us the assurance that something is living. Okay, so we need to look into the characteristics of living organisms. Characteristics of living organisms. The characteristics that we used to know back then, we call it Mr. NIGERAD, right? Everyone is familiar with Mr. NIGERAD. Okay, but then it is no more Mr. NIGERAD. It is now Mr. NIGERAD. Mr. NIGERAD. Okay, whereby your M stands for movement, R stands for respiration, N stands for nutrition, your I stands for irritability, and G stands for growth, E for excretion, R for reproduction, A for adaptation, and D for death. Okay, so we are going to be I'm going to brief all these characteristics of living organisms. I'm going to brief them, look into them. I know it's something we are all familiar with, right? So like movement, of course, you know what movement is. Moving from one place to another, or we say change in state, because plant is a living organism, but then it doesn't move from one place to another. Plant cannot move from one house to the other. So we say movement is a change in state, change in location, could be change in position. All right. So then respiration is, of course, you breathe in, you breathe out, or it is not limited to breathing in and breathing out. Okay. So when you breathe in oxygen, you break it down to give you energy. Okay. So that is respiration. So respiration is not only limited to breathing in and breathing out. Okay. So we move to nutrition. Nutrition is, when you break down the food you eat, the nutrients you take. Sometimes you can come across some children whereby their head is big, they have small body, we call it kwashiorkor. And when you want to define that, you say, oh, they have malnutrition. Okay, so nutrition is the process whereby you break down the food you eat, the nutrients you take, and then you break it down to give you energy. It is the energy that helps you to do your normal daily activities. So we move to irritability. What do we mean by irritability? Sometimes when you probably someone pinch you, or you or someone pours you a cold water, very cold water, of course you will respond to it. You might even give sound, oh, ouch. So the process of you are giving that sound, you are feeling it, you are responding to what is happening to you at that moment. That is what we call irritability. If someone pinches you, you give sound, ouch, why did you pinch me? So you are responding to that stimuli. Okay, so that is what we call irritability. Every living organism responds to stimuli. Okay, every living organism responds to environment. Okay, are we getting it? I want to believe we are getting me. If you can hear me and you are getting what I'm saying, please type yeah. Type yeah, so I can know you are following. Thank you. Okay, so we are moving on to growth. Growth, every living organism's growth. When you were giving birth to, when your mommy gave birth to you, you were a very small baby, right? And your mother kept on breastfeeding you. From breastfeeding, you started eating all this golden more small food. From there, you started eating pounded yam, eating solid food. So that means you are growing. Likewise, plants. When you plant a seed, from there you keep on wetting it. The plant experience sunlight, experience photosynthesis, and then it starts to grow. Okay, so every living organism experience growth. And then we move to excretion. Okay, what is excretion? Excretion is the process whereby you pass out the waste products, the things that are not useful to your body organs, the things that are not useful to your system, you release them out, you pass them out because they are not needed in your body. That is what we call excretion. The process whereby you excrete or you pass out waste products. That is excretion. And we move to reproduction. What is reproduction? The process whereby you give birth to, you reproduce. The process whereby you produce another species, okay, another species of the same organisms. That is what we call reproduction. And then we move to adaptation. Adaptation is the process whereby you adjust to your environment. For instance, this period here in Nigeria, presently we are experiencing heat. Okay, but then even for those that does not like heat, for those that are that does not have like it at all, what do? They need to adjust to the heat period. Okay, so that is what we call adaptation. And when harmattan comes, when rainy season comes, we do what? We adjust to the next season. So that is what we call adaptation. The process whereby you are adjusting to your environment. You adjust to whatever goes around in your environment so that you can survive. Okay, so and there's this natural tendency of an organism. There is a process whereby we call when the organisms have to adjust, when you have to adjust to your environment. Why do we have to adjust to our environment? You need to develop some specialized structure in your body. Do you understand? That is the major reason why we adapt. The major reason why we adapt as living organisms. Okay, so the natural tendency is I'm going to wipe the board now. I want to believe we have a graph of what is on the board. Okay. So please take note of whatever is being taught here. So the natural tendency of an organism to adapt and survive by developing traits and specialized structure. So this is another definition of adaptation. Please take note of it. Okay, so and then we move to death. We move to death. So every living organisms experience death. Even as human being, when you are more than 100, 120, 130, you need to go. Like, so that means there is a particular lifespan that every living organisms have. Okay, so and after the lifespan, you need to, there is death. So death, every living organisms experience death. So it is the last phase of the characteristics of living organisms. Okay, so and we move to the structures of plant and animal cells. So I just briefed the characteristics of living organisms, which is Mr. NIGERAD. Like I said earlier, we have the movement, respiration, nutrition, irritability, growth, excretion, reproduction, adaptation, and death. Thank you. So we are moving on to the structure of plants and animal cells. Okay, so I want to believe that we know that all these living organisms, there are some cells in them. And of course, living organisms is divided majorly into two, which is the plant and animal. Okay, so we want to look into the structure of plants and animal cells. What are the things that make up these living organisms? What are the things that make up living organisms? What is present? What are the components in plant cells? And what are the components in animal cells? So that is what we want to look into. Can I wipe up the board? I want to wipe it off now. Okay, so we are moving on to the structure of plants and animal cell. Structure of plants and animal cells. So we have plant cell, we have animal cell, but there's something I want us to do in this class. I want us to manage our time, and at the same time, I want you to take notes of everything I'm going to mention. I want you to take notes. I want you to take notes of all the components that we are going to mention, and I want you to take I want your total attention. Okay, so I am going to combine both plant and animal cells diagram, and we are going to label it one after the other, and I'm going to be telling you the function of each of the components. Okay, if you are with me, please send an emoji to me. If you are with me, please send an emoji using the chat box. So I want to believe we are all with me and we can understand. Okay, thank you. So we are going to be looking at the structure of plant and animal cell, right? Before I make the diagram of plant and animal cell, there's something I want you to know. Okay, so the first thing you need to note is the components of each of the cells. You need to take note of the components and their functions. The components, the structure, and their functions. Those are the major things you need to take note. Okay, so what I'm going to be drawing here today, you is actually not the fixed diagram. What you need to take note most is the components and the structure of each of the components. Thank you. So here we go. Note that plant cells are rectangular in structure. Plant cells are rectangular in structure. Okay. And animal cells, they are circular in structure. They are circular in structure. Okay. So this is the plant cell. And we have an animal cell which is round in structure. Not majorly round, but it is something like this. Okay. So what we are going to do now, we are going to be labeling the plant cell and animal cell using one labeling. Okay, using one labeling. What do I mean by using one labeling? We want to manage our time. Okay, so we are going to be labeling the plant cell and animal cell together, right? This is because there are similarities between the plant and animal cells. There are some components present in plant cells and there are some components present in animal cells. So in order to manage our time, we are going to be labeling them together. So we have the nucleus here, we have the nucleus. We also have the nucleus, in plants, and we have the nucleus. Okay, please pay attention to what I am going to do. Okay, so to start with the labelings now, you see this structure in plant cell, the outer wall is called cell wall. Cell wall. Okay, and what is the function of the cell wall? Like I said earlier, we are going to be drawing both plants and animal cell at a time, and we are going to be labeling them together at a time to manage the time we have. So I want you to pay attention. Okay, so this is the cell wall. What is the function of the cell wall? Just like human being, you have a body frame, right? So we can only see your body frame. We cannot see the things inside of you. We cannot see your intestines. We cannot see the organs in you. We can see your lungs, your kidney, your pancreas, your stomach. We cannot see that. We can only see your body structure. So the same thing is applicable here. So the cell wall it does what? It gives protection and support to the plant cell. Okay, that is the function of the cell wall. Please, I want you to take note of everything we are going to be doing here. You know, biology is wide, and of course, time will not permit to give all the notes. So that is why I am trying to do my possible best to make sure you get both the structure and the functions of each of the components. Thank you. So the cell wall, like I said earlier, it gives support and protection to the plant, to the cell. So that is this cell wall. So for the animal cell, it does not have cell wall. Okay, so what we are doing here, you should be able to know the difference between plant cell and animal cell, at the same time know the functions of each of the components, and at the same time know the structure of each of the components. That is why I am trying to do it one after the other so that you can understand. Okay, so this is the cell wall. And then the second line here, the second line, this is the cell membrane. Is the cell membrane. And then this in animal cell is also known as cell membrane. I believe you understand. This is the cell membrane of animal cell, and this is the cell membrane of the plant cell. Okay, so we move on to what is inside, which is this. This is the nucleus. This is the nucleus. And also this, for animal cell, is the nucleus. I hope we are getting it. I want you to note the similarities and the difference and the structure, including the function of the plant and animal cell. Okay, we have talked about the cell wall. I have explained the cell wall and the cell membrane. What does the cell membrane do? It controls the movements of the organs, the movements of the components of the organs in the plant cell. That is the function of cell membrane. Controls the movement of substances in and out. Of course, this is what we have. This is the structure. So whatever is going to move, it will be within this shape. It will be within this shape. So that is the cell membrane. It controls the movement of substance in the cell. That is for the cell membrane. And the nucleus, if you look at the structure of the nucleus, you see that it is majorly at the center, almost at the center of the cell. Okay, I want you to take note of this too. The nucleus is at the middle of the cell because it controls the cell activities. It controls the cell activities. This is a JAMB question. This is a UTME question because we are going to be looking at the past questions under this topic, and you will see that everything we have talked about, they are UTME questions. So I want you to take note of it one after the other. So the nucleus is at the middle of the cell because it controls the cell activities. Thank you. So we move on to what is inside the nucleus. Okay, what do we have inside the nucleus? You see this thing you are looking at? This thing is called the nucleus. Nucleus. You can see that we have it in animal cell too, right? Here is also the nucleus. You can see the similarities. So we have the nucleus in both plant and animal cell. So what does the nucleus do? What does it do? It produces ribosome. You see this thing you are seeing here? There is a structure here. There is a structure here that we call ribosome. Ribosome. Okay, it is also present in animal cell. also present in animal cell. And where does this ribosome come from? It is this nucleus that produces ribosome. Okay, so the function of ribosome is that it produces proteins. Ribosome produces protein. That is the function of ribosome. Okay, don't forget the nucleus controls the cell activities. The nucleus produces this ribosome you are looking at here, and this ribosome helps in producing protein. I believe we are getting it. Okay, so we move on to what is around the nucleus. There is something here, as you can see. Okay, we also have it in animal cell. This is how it looks like in animal cell. Okay, so we call this endoplasmic reticulum. We call this endoplasmic reticulum. It is also present in animal cell. Endoplasmic reticulum. And what is the function of endoplasmic reticulum? Before we go into the function, endoplasmic reticulum is divided into two. We have the smooth endoplasmic reticulum and we have the rough endoplasmic reticulum. What it also does is that it produces protein. It synthesizes protein. So both endoplasmic reticulum and ribosome, they function in almost the same way. So endoplasmic reticulum helps in synthesizing protein. Okay, so which means that both plant and animal cell, they have endoplasmic reticulum. Then we move to another component inside the cell. I believe we are enjoying the class and we are taking note of the components and the structure. Okay, so here is the vacuole. There's something we call vacuole. Both the plant and animal cell have vacuole. Okay, so we label this as vacuole. Also this as vacuole. So if you look at the structure of the vacuole in plant cell and the vacuole in animal cell, you see that that of plant cell is bigger than that of animal cell. They both have vacuole, but they are different in sizes. So the vacuole in plant is bigger than the vacuole in animal cell. Okay, so we move on to another component. Before we move on to another component, I'm here to tell you the function of vacuole. As you can see, what do you think will be the function of this vacuole? It stores water. You see how big it is. So looking at the structure, you know, something that is inside is liquid. So it stores water. That is what it does. It stores water, nutrients, and waste. So that is the function of the vacuole. It stores water. Let me call it WNW, water nutrient waste. That is what the vacuole store. Okay, so we move on to another component, which we call okay, so we move on to another component, which we call mitochondria. Mitochondria. This is the structure of mitochondria. Both the plant and animal cell has mitochondria. Both the plant and animal cell have mitochondria. So we label it as mitochondria. And what is the function of mitochondria? It produces energy. It gives energy to the cell for it to be able to perform all the activities that is expected of it. So it gives and produces energy to the cell. So that is the function of mitochondria. If you understand and you can hear me, please send an emoji using the chat box. If you can hear me and you are enjoying the class, please send an emoji. Thank you. Okay, so we move on to the other components. We have a component in animal cell that is not present in plant cell. And this component is called centriole. Thank you, Aminat. Thank you. Okay, so this component here is not present in plant cell, and we call it centriole. We call this centriole. Okay, so what is the function of centriole? What is the function of centriole? I believe we can hear me and we understand what I am explaining here. So why is centriole present in animal cell and it is absent in plant cell? The function of centriole is that it helps to break down, it helps in dividing the cells. So it helps in cell division. That is the function of the centriole. So it is not present in plants. Okay, so we have another component in plant cell that is not present in animal cell, and that is what we call chloroplast. Chloroplast. Why is chloroplast present in animal cell and it is not present in plants? Sorry, present in plant cell and absent in animal cell. What is the function of chloroplast? Chloroplast helps in synthesis. It helps in photosynthesis. Okay, it helps in photosynthesis. It produces chlorophyll. And what is photosynthesis? Because the process whereby green plants synthesize, manufacture organic compound, primarily sugar from carbon dioxide, using sunlight as a source of energy and protein. So the function of chloroplast is that it produces chlorophyll. Okay, it produces chlorophyll. So that is the function of chloroplast. And of course, animal cell, it does not have chloroplast. Okay, so animal cell does not have chloroplast. So we move on to another component. We move on to another component, which is the lysosome. Lysosome is present in animal cell but absent in plant cell. Lysosome. I hope you can understand the topic. Okay, so we have the lysosome. What does the lysosome do in plant cell? It contains the digestive enzymes. to break down whatever the animal eats. So whatever you eat, the function of the lysosome is to break down the digestive enzymes so that the food can be digested. So that is the function of lysosome. Okay, so if you look at all these functions now, all these components, I have explained what each of the components stands for, and there is one more component that we are here to label, and that is the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus is present in both plants and animal cell. The Golgi apparatus is present in both plants and animal cell. Okay, so this is how the structure looks like. So we label this as the Golgi apparatus. Okay. So these are the major Golgi body apparatus. So these are the major components in plant cells and animal cells. So if you look into it very well, you see that there are some components present in plant cells, and there are some that are also present in animal cell. And then there are some that are present in plant cell and not present in animal cell. So that is the summary of the structure of plant and animal cell. So what is not present in plant cell and present in animal cell? We have the lysosome and we have the centriole. Okay, they are not present in plant cell. And if you look at the plant cell very well, you see that we have the chloroplast and we have the cell wall that are not present in animal cell. So from this diagram and structure, you should be able to denote the differences and similarities plant cells and animal cell. So I'm going to wipe off the board now so we can move into the key difference. So now all observable features in living organisms. There's something we call observable features. Like looking at these cells now, you can see the components that are present. Okay, so all observable features in living organisms are called phenotype. Phenotype. Okay, please take note of that. Observable features in living organisms, they are called phenotype. Please take note of that. So looking at what we have done so far today, we have been able to talk about the living organisms, the characteristics of living organisms, right? We talked about Mr. NIGERAD. There are some people that could not join us from the start. Okay, so I'm going to um summarize everything that we have done today. Okay, so we talked about living organisms. We talked about the characteristics of living organisms, which is Mr. NIGERAD, the movement, respiration, nutrition, irritability, growth, excretion, reproduction, and adaptation, then and death. Okay, so and then we move to the structure of plants and animal cell, which you can see here on the board. Okay, so we are going to be looking at the questions that we have under this topic, the past questions that we can see under this topic. There are some questions I've been able to, you know, bring out from the past questions under this topic, and I would like us to go into it. But before we go into that, I believe we have grasped what is here on the board. I want to wipe it off now. I believe we can clear it now. Thank you. Please, if you are with me, give a thumbs up. If you are with me and you understand, please give a thumbs up. And then if you have any question that you would like to ask, if you have any question, please gather them and send using the chat box. Okay, using the chat box. Okay, thank you. So before we move into the questions under this topic, the UTM questions under this topic, I would like us to break down the structures that we just discussed. Okay, so like I said earlier, we have the features, we have the plant cell. I am doing this because of those that couldn't join us on time. Okay, we have the animal cell. So what we are going to be doing is to list out the differences between the plant cell and animal cell using the structure that I wiped off now. Okay, so we have the cell wall, right? That's the feature. So if you can tell me, this cell wall, is it present in both plant and animal cell, or it is present only in plant cell? I want to see an answer at the chat box, please. If you really understand, if you understood what we discussed earlier, cell wall, is it present in animal cell or in both cells? Okay, thank you. We have present here and it is absent here. So this is a short way you can, decode the differences between plant cell and animal cell. Okay, so you have the chloroplast as well. Remember, I said chloroplast produces chlorophyll for photosynthesis. And of course, animal cell does not exhibit photosynthesis, so which means it is present in plant cell and absent in animal cell. Okay, so we also have the vacuole. Remember what we have in the diagram? In the plant cell, the vacuole is big, right? And in animal cell, the vacuole is small. So which means that here, you put it as big and small for animal cell. Okay, so we have the centriole. The centriole, remember, it is present in animal cell but absent in plant cell. Why? Remember I told you that centriole is responsible for the digestive processes in animal cell. And of course, plant does not digest anything. So that is why it is absent in plant. Okay, so we also have the lysosome, which is absent in plants and present in animal. Okay, we have what again can we pick as difference? I think these are the major differences in plant cells and animal cell. You can also talk about the shape. Yes, you can also talk about the shape. For plant cell, we can say it is rectangular in shape, while for animal cell, we can say it is irregular round. Yes, you cannot call it round, you can say irregular round. So that is the shape for animal cell. So this is the summary of the structure of plant and animal cell. I believe we can see what is on the board and we can relate it to the diagram of both the plant and animal cell that I gave earlier. Okay, so if you understand, or if you have any question, you can drop it using the chat box, and we are going to attend to it together. Okay, so let's go into the questions. Let's go into the questions. I'm going to wipe off this now if you want to. I believe you already grasped what is in there. I'm going to wipe it off now. Okay. So we're going to be treating past questions under this topic. We have talked about living organisms, the definition, they are entities that have life in them, characteristics of life in them, right? And of course, we have different characteristics: growth, metabolism, reproduction, and all of that. We have talked about the characteristics of living things, characteristics of living organisms, which is Mr. Niger AD. It is no more Mr. Niger D, Mr. Niger AD. We have the movement, we have the respiration, nutrition, irritability, growth, excretion, reproduction, adaptation, and death. Okay, so we moved on to the structure. We move on to the structures of so we move on to the structures of plant and animal cells, right? Which we just discussed now. And I gave us the difference between plant and animal cell. So we are going to be looking at questions together now. We're going to be looking at questions together. So we have 2022 question here. I think we have a question under 2022. Okay. So we are going to be treating that together now. And I want us to participate using the chat box. I want us to participate using the chat box. Okay. So this is 2022 past question. And number one says, the sum total of all observable features. This is 2022 past question. The sum total of all observable features of an organism is called dash. Okay. Number one, A, phenotype, B, heterozygous, C, genotype, and D, homozygous. Please, if you know the answer, please answer using the chat box. The sum total of all observable features of an organism is called dash. Like I explained earlier, that everything you can see in an animal, every features you can see in them, there's a name that we call it. And the name is what? We call it phenotype. Okay, so A is our answer. The sum total of all observable features of an organism is called phenotype. Okay, we are going to look at another year's question under this topic. So we have year 2020, have another question under 2020. Okay. So I'm going to wipe this off. I believe we already have a grasp and we understand the question and why we picked the answer. Okay, so this is another question for 2020. The natural tendency of organisms as they evolve is to dash. The natural tendency of organisms as they evolve is to dash. A, decrease in size. B, increase in number. C, develop specialized structures, and D, feed indiscriminately. The natural tendency of an organism as they evolve is to dash. Okay, like I explained using the characteristics of living organisms. Okay, I explained each of the characteristic, why we possess the characteristics that we possess. Okay, so if an organism is birth today, what does it carry out? What are the processes? What are the things that it carry out? What does it do? Does it decrease in size? Of course, no. Does it increase in number? Is that the natural tendency of organism? Does it increase in number? No. Does it develop specialized structures? Of course, yes. I explained using you as a baby. When your parents gave birth to you as a baby, you started feeding on breast milk, and then from there you started eating pounded yam. All those structures, all those features that you exhibit, they are specialized structure that a living organism should exhibit. So the answer is develop specialized structures. That is the natural tendency of an organism. For an organism that is healthy, it develops specialized structure. Okay, I believe we understand and we are getting the questions and the answers. Okay, so we move on to another question that I was able to um, bring out. This is 2019 past question. I'm going to wipe this off now. I believe we got it. Okay, so this is another question for 2019. If you can hear me, please send a thumbs up. Let me know that you are here with me. Okay. So this is 2019 past question. 2019 past question. It says, a virus can sometimes be regarded as a living organism because it's dash. A virus can sometimes be regarded as a living organism because it dash. A, causes disease in plants and animals. B, it exists in a variety of shapes. C, it's easily visible with the aid of an electron microscope. And D, reproduces in living cells. You see, anytime you see a question under living organism, the first thing that should come to your mind is the characteristics of living organisms, the components of living organisms, their structure. The major questions that come out under living organism, they don't exceed this. So it's now left to you to be able to decode and understand what they are trying to pass across. So if you look at this question very well, you will see that they want to test you on characteristics of living organism. Okay, so a virus can sometimes be regarded as a living organism because it's dash. Okay, causes disease in plants and animals. That one is a normal thing. It exists in variety of shapes. It's easily visible with the aid of an electron microscope. It reproduces in living cells. It's not that all these options are not correct for virus, but then they want you to bring out the characteristic of living organism. And what is the characteristic of living organism here? That is reproduction, which is D, it reproduces in living cells. So they are trying to test you if you really know all the characteristics of living organisms. Okay, so we move to another question. There's another question I was able to bring out on the 2019 past question. Okay, 2019 past question. I believe we have taken note of this. I'm going to wipe it off now. Okay. So another question that we have here is 2019 past question. 2019 past question. And it says, which of the following structures controls the activities of the living cells? Can someone give me the answer of this using the chat box? If you really understand the components of the structure of plants and animal cells that we discussed earlier, right? We discussed characteristics of living things, characteristics of living organisms, and the structure of plant and animal cells and their functions. So I said something about the each of the components, right? So looking at this question, which of the following structures controls the activities of the living cells? Of course, it is the nucleus. Why? Because the nucleus, I told you, it is almost at the middle of the cell, at the center of the cell, because it controls the activities of the living cells. It controls the activities of everything that is going on in the cell. And we also have the centrosome, which is regarded also as the centrioles. And also we have the mitochondria, we have the Golgi body. I gave us the explanations for each of the components, right? So the answer here is the nucleus. Then I think I have one more question under this topic. I have one more question under this topic, and it's also 2019 past question. 2019 past question. I'm going to wipe this off now. Okay. So the last question is that I'm going to paste here now. It's also 2019 past question. The study of an organism, the study of an individual organism or a single species of an organism and its environment is dash. I mentioned this when I started the class. Okay. A, horticulture, sorry. A, horticulture, B, ecological concept, C, synecology, and D, biotic composers. What is the answer according to the class we just had? The answer is A, which is horticulture. I told you that horticulture is the study of an individual organism or a single species of an organism and its environment. So the answer is horticulture. Thank you very much for this class. And if you want more lesson videos, lesson notes, you can make use of the app, make use of our Hey Want Tutor app. There are lesson videos, there are lesson notes that can help you understand better. And there are also numerous past questions that you can check. Okay, you can look for questions under this topic that we just treated today. So, and I'm going to paste a link under the chat box. This is for you to join our Telegram page. Okay, the Telegram page is going to help you a lot because you're going to be meeting and connecting with other students like you, and you get updates on live classes. If you don't have Telegram on your phone, you can download Telegram. You can download Telegram and then you make use of the link. So check the chat box and join our Telegram page using the link below. So thank you very much for joining today's class. I hope you understand. I can't see any question here. Does that mean you understand everything I have explained here. So if you truly understand all that I explained, please give a thumbs up, or okay, you send your favorite emojis to tell me you really understand everything that has been explained today. Thank you very much for your references. So, see you in the next class. So there's another subject tomorrow. We'll be having two other subjects tomorrow. Do well to join the class. Do well to join the lessons. Don't miss any of those classes, because once you miss one, you may find it difficult to catch up with the other topics. Do you understand? So thank you very much for joining today's class. See you next time. Bye.